Okay, the book I read was American Woman's Home or Principles of Domestic Science. It was by Catherine Esther Beecher and Harriet Beecher Stowe. I chose this book because I wanted to find the funny differences between 1869 and today. It is a historical nonfiction book. The topics that were covered in this book ranged from setting a house up, everything. The stove for proper ventilation and heat to teaching children good manners. It had a lot of different information. It had basic first aid, what pictures to hang where. It had a lot of information. For number three, what are three interesting facts you found in the book? One of the things that I found interesting was speaking about nerves. And the exact quote of the text would be, occupations must be sought which exercise the muscles and interest the mind, and thus the equal action of both kinds of nerves is secured. So they were basically saying you need a job that exercises your brain and your body, which that's still good advice today. The second thing that I thought was interesting was speaking about baths. Neglect of the skin, which probably is the cause of disease and decay to an incredible extent. I thought that was pretty interesting because, going through the COVID, wash your hands, this is still good advice today. The third thing that I found interesting in the book, which I found a lot of interesting things in the book, but this one, it was interesting. They were talking about food and food preparation. The direct quote would have been, it presents a fine abundance of material and carelessness and poorly treated. So there was a lot of waste, just like today. Number 5. What was the most interesting thing you found in your reading? The most interesting thing was the way they broke down every chapter. They broke down things such as chores, on what days you need to do what chores, and on the stove chapter, it told you where it should be, how it should be lit. It was, they had everything down to where you needed to place pictures on the walls. But the most interesting thing, I guess, would have been the part about teething babies. They said that every mother needed to know how to lance the gums of a teething baby. And the description was cut it down to the tooth. Either take your child to the doctor and have them lance it, or you lance it. And another thing was a healthy child should be accustomed to lie or sit in its cradle most of the time. But it should be occasionally taken out and uh, taken out and tossed or carried for exercise and entertainment. I thought that was kind of interesting. That's way off of what we know is the good thing today. Okay, 4 new words I learned. Curly whirlies. It's a twisting and curling shape resembling the flattened intertwined serpentine strings. Scrofulous, morally contaminated and corrupt. Volitins, the faculty or power of using one's own will. And cave, alongside, beside, next to. Number 7, did the book do a good job of teaching and explaining the topic? Yes, I think it was very informative. What questions do you have after reading this book? The most questions I have were about the first aid section. The first aid section, I don't understand how anybody actually lived through this period of time, because the first aid section, it was rough. What is my opinion of the book? It's very outdated, of course, but some things are very spot on. But other things, it gave you a good laugh. Would you recommend this book to someone interested in this subject? Yes, I think for the time period that it was wrote, I think it was very informational. Like I said, they broke down everything, and it was pretty interesting. Thanks.